You're listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. This episode is actually a bonus episode because I talked to Ginny Nugent for so long, I decided to put the story she told me just in an extra episode. I asked her about what her funny stories were from her life in production, and she actually called me back the next day and we did a Skype session where she told me a few stories about life in the trenches. So I'm just going to give them to you here. Enjoy.
So the first story is... it's kind of like the randomness of working on movies and how you just never know what you're ever going to end up doing. And so on Tremors, we had the need for a piece of a horse. We needed to do some inserts on a horse. And so we started contacting all these taxidermy people. And apparently getting a whole horse, a stuffed horse, is kind of difficult. So we ended up with a horse butt.
Horse's ass.
A horse's ass, just the rear end, 2 legs and the butt. And it was out in, somewhere past Palm Springs. And so we tapped this lucky PA with his little pickup truck to go pick it up and bring it back to us so that we could shoot with it. And so he, dutifully drove out a couple hours probably and got this horse's butt loaded into the back of his pickup truck. And on his way back to L.A., he stopped for lunch. And he stopped at some kind of roadside diner, and he pulled up his truck, and you could see the horse's butt. And he went in to eat lunch, and the owner of this little diner saw the horse's butt, thought it was real, and refused to serve him. He was just like, no, you cannot, have that thing. People will think they're eating horse meat in my lovely little diner, so you can't eat here. So poor guy had to go and probably do the drive-thru at McDonald's because that was easier.
Now wait, I thought it was a real horse butt or it was a fake horse butt?
It's actually it was from a taxidermist, so it actually may have been part of a real one. Now that I think about it.
Oh, but a taxidermy, so it wasn't like a bloody stump.
No. It was. I forget how they finished off the front piece of it. It was, I think, kind of cloth or something. But it was, if you just looked like a real horse's butt. But it was for close-ups. You had to, I forget what we were even shooting. But it was stuffed and looked real.
Oh, the poor PA. Okay, now speaking of asses, here's her next story.
So I was working on a film, a low-budget movie, and it was getting really late. I was a line producer. I had a fairly experienced director, and we were trying to shoot a gargoyle, a flying gargoyle, and it was this guy in a suit up on wires, and it wasn't working. They had rigged it wrong. It just wasn't working. And so I discreetly, or so I thought, went over to the director and kind of whispered in his ear and said, you know what, we have money for a second unit. Why don't we call it a night, and we'll just get it in. We'll get it in post. We'll get it as a second unit. And he went into a rage. Actually, he was so mad at me, and I thought I was doing him a favor by, I was going to get him his shot. It was just going to be at a different time. So I walked away. He was having a tantrum. So I walked away. And I was like, whatever. And he had, he was a screamer kind of director. So I was sitting on the set, waiting for him to stop his tantrum, and he got so mad he went to kick an apple box, but he missed, and his shoe came off and went flying by my head. And it's one of those things where everything stops on the set, and everybody's looking at me, and they're looking at him, and what's going to happen, and I was like, oh. But I was fed up with him. So I was like, well, that's it. I'm out of here. And I stood up because it was late. It was getting towards wrap. We probably had another hour or so left. And I just okay, that's it. So I got up and I walked off the set, and I immediately called my executive producer saying, oh my God, this happened. But the best part was, so I left. I was just done. And 5 minutes later, mysteriously, the generator broke.
Huh.
And the show, sorry, got to shut the show down. So the next day, the transpo guy came up, and I was like, what happened with the Jenny? And he was like, what do you think happened, Jenny? No one can do that to our girl. And I was like, oh, thank you. I was like, but it was one of those solidarity moments where
I love it.
Where the director's just being out of control, and
they had your back.
They had my back. Yeah, it was nice. Nice. Didn't help with the director, who's still an ass. But it was all about asses this morning too. Funny that. Anyway, that was one of those moments. I look back.
And that just reminds you how powerful the crew is.
Oh, absolutely.
They can shut that stuff down.
Yeah, and on that particular show, I had a director who he was very abusive verbally to the crew, and he was British, and he liked to use the C word.
Oh, yeah, 'cause that's not a bad word there.
I know. It is here. On that show, I lost all my grips. My grips literally came to me, and they were like, you know what? You're not paying us enough for this kind of abuse, and he's awful, and we hate this show, and we're out of here.
Wow.
And I was like, I don't blame you. And I'll find someone else. But it was, when the grips quit, it's not a good sign.
No. Was he calling the grips the C word?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I knew, but that's what I mean. Like, it's not.
Oh, come on.
I know. And I tried to explain to him that it's not. Because he kept saying, I'm joking. And I'm like, yeah, I know you're joking, but no one else does. And it doesn't work that way here.
No, and when the grips, if it's too rough for the grips.
I know. Yeah. This particular director was like a caged animal. He'd come like an hour or two early before before call, and he would like pace the set trying to, going over in his head over and over and over what he was going to shoot that day. So by the time the crew showed up at call, he felt like they were late. And, he would just start in on them, and it just didn't end.
The tortured artist.
Yes, very much so. And he was tortured. I mean, he had like ulcers, stomach ulcers by the end of the show, and he'd bite his fingernails till they bled. I mean, tortured soul.
God, some of it should be fun, shouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, you would think. I mean, in prep and post, he was lovely, but while we were shooting, I think the stress of it, that's how it came out.
God. I mean, you're making movies, for God's sake. Something should be fun about it.
I know. He went off. He had a very good career. He made a lot of big movies after that.
Okay, here's another one, and this one involves a baby and fire. Here's Ginny.
I have a theory that people's common sense flies out of their head when they get on a movie set.
Yeah.
I had a show on location with a director, another crazy director, and we had a second unit that was up in a bedroom, and they were supposed to be in a room in a burning barn, and the director was supposed to be going back and forth between the units, and there was a scene when there was a baby in the room, and the actor's supposed to run in, of course, grab the baby in the burning room and run out. And so we were using fire bars outside the windows to make it look like it was burning. And I get this call on my walkie-talkie from the second AD, and he's like whispering. He's like, Jenny, you need to get up here now. And I was like, what the hell? So I go running up to the set, and I walk in, and everybody's like tense, and I'm like, what's going on? And the first AD turns to me, and he's like, well, our director here would like to hang the baby out the window over the flame bar. And I was like, what? And I turned to the director in classic style. He was like, I never said that. Absolutely not. I never said that. And I said, well, we're not putting the baby over the flame bar. Like, that is not happening. And I said, where's the baby and the mom, And the AD is like, oh, they're offset. And I was like, okay, well, let me be perfectly clear. We are never going to hang a baby over flame bar. Like, that is not okay. Not doing it, whatever. So then I leave the set. I figure, okay, if I put the word, I leave the set. And I get another call. They're like, Ginny, you need to get up here. I was like, oh my God. And sure enough, the director was trying to get the crew to do it behind my back kind of stuff.
Are you kidding?
I am not kidding. And I said, you know what? We're just not going to get the shot then. We're not going to get the scene. I don't care. And I shut down the unit and I sent the baby and the mom home. And then that led to a big confrontation. So so I shut it down. I go back to first unit where the director's supposed to be, and he comes up to me and he's literally, and he was a sociopath, I think. He literally came up and he goes, I never said that. I never did that, blah, blah, blah. And I just looked at him and I said, you know what? You're a fucking liar. And I can't even talk to you. We're not doing it. I just can't deal with you anymore. And he literally followed me out of the set. He's now sobbing because he wasn't going to get a shot. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you other than this is a movie. And we're not harming anyone, particularly a baby when it's against the law. We're just not doing that. I don't know what to say. It's just, anyway, it was one of those interesting moments where you really wonder,
what is wrong with you?
What was he thinking? Yeah, I know.
And it's so funny for him to deny any involvement. Well, then how did the whole situation even come up?
Exactly. They were going to make it up, right? The grips or the ADs were going to make it. I don't know what he thought. It was actually a pattern. That was one of the most egregious. But he did it 2 or 3 more times, and he would constantly deny having any responsibility.
And did the mother have any clue that this is what was going on?
No. She didn't speak very good English, to be honest, and which I think he was trying to take advantage of. He was just miserable.
It's gross.
Yeah. But I was I remember the look on my face, and I was like, what are you talking about? We're not holding a baby over a fire. Could you imagine?
No. And I'm thinking, why do you even need a real baby in that scene?
Exactly. Well, I think there was a shot, because there were probably 4 or 5 shots they were supposed to get. There was a shot where our actress, which was probably a first unit shot, probably had nothing to do with this second unit scene anyway, where you saw the actress pick up a real baby and walk out. And I'm pretty sure they weren't shooting that. But yeah, why there was a real baby, I can't even remember. But yeah, the baby in the flame bar, not happening.
No. And the fact that you had to be the one to go police that.
Oh, yeah.
Why weren't there 20 people in the room saying no?
I know, right? My ADs, right? Well, they knew it was wrong, but they it's very difficult for crew members to say no to a director.
Yeah.
It really truly is. They're brought up in our culture, our film culture, to especially film side, television is totally different, but film side, the crew members want to get the director, male or female, whatever they want. That's the challenge of it, right?
Yeah.
You've had a good day when, they're like, I need a horse's butt, and you find one, and you show up with it, and you get the shot, and you're like, oh, that was a good day. I succeeded. And so it's very, I think it's harder for people to say no. And now it is changing for sure, given what happened to that crew on the train and all that stuff. But Night Riders, thanks, Barb. I understand why. It is something that's ingrained in people coming up. You just don't say no. You try to figure it out. You're like, okay, you want to do that? All right, well, let's try to figure out a way to do it in a safe way. And I think that it is changing. I think the ADs are much better trained now. There's mandatory safety training. Mm-hmm. And I think the ADs take it seriously that the buck stops with them.
But it is the industry where, I always say you should put production people on The Apprentice and they would win every time. Because the job is figuring out how to do the impossible.
Right, yeah. In fact, I just wrote a note. I have a production in India, in Mumbai, that's shooting one day. We have this scene on Silicon Valley. And I literally just wrote a note to my producer. I said, thank you for making the impossible possible. within like 2 weeks, he'd set up this entire shoot in Mumbai, where we had to bring our actor there. And they shot it all in a day, and it went really well. And there's got to be like 1,000 people in his shot that they had to, navigate our actor through, who's riding a bike. I mean, it's great. I just like, oh, yeah, there we go again. That was fantastic.
Pulling something off. But and in India, they know how to do that. The way they make movies.
Oh, yeah. He loved the crew. He loved the crew. He's like, oh, my God, dude, they're so fantastic. And the AD was a woman, and he was like, I would bring her anywhere in the world. She's fantastic.
Wow.
Really smart and great.
I love that.
I know.
Now, who was it once that compared a film crew to an alcoholic family, where the director is the alcoholic dad at the top, and then everyone else is scurrying around underneath just trying to make it okay?
The enablers?
Yes.
That's a really good analogy.
Just trying to keep dad from exploding.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Walking around on eggshells or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And yet there are other directors I've worked with who are so collaborative and lovely to the crew and will take an idea from anybody. Even Steven Soderbergh, who he's worked with his crew for years. It's really lovely to watch how, Steven's definitely in control, but there's such mutual respect on both sides that they can suggest something and he will listen and seriously consider it, and sometimes he does it and sometimes he doesn't. But it's a respectful collaboration, which is, I think, makes it fun for everybody.
Okay, last one. This is what happens when your actor falls off the wagon.
Okay, so we had a show that was shooting in Toronto, and we had an actor who needed a sober companion, shall we say. And so we had to fly someone in from Malibu, I believe. And the show went well. That person was with the actor pretty much 24/7. And we got through the shoot. The day after the shoot, if I have my dates right, the actor came into the office, the production office, and I believe he asked if he could stay another day. I wasn't quite sure why. I can't remember why, actually, but he wanted to stay another day. And it turned out that his sober companion could not. The sober companion had to leave that day, had to get back to Malibu. And so all this happened through the production office, and by the time we found out about it, the sober companion was gone, and the actor was missing. We don't know where he went, and we were trying to do his travel, and we ended up having to call the sober companion back. I mean, his family got involved in trying to find him, and ultimately he lied to us and had gone off on a bender. And I believe we had to fly in another sober companion. We had to get someone from the rehab place to come in and wait with him so that he was in a condition where he could fly back and then fly back home with him. That stuff happens. It's really unfortunate. But I think in production you take people at their word until they you catch them in a lie, if you will. But that was unfortunate. I learned that lesson where as a production you're responsible to get your actor back home. It's not enough to just finish the shoot. You actually have to deliver them back to their place of residence.
Yeah, 'cause I remember that was a discussion. Like, is it really our job to get them all the way home?
Yeah.
Or is our obligation over?
Right. Well, in this case, at least our legal department definitely.
Well, it's the right thing to do, probably.
Yeah, exactly. But they were like, no, we need to figure out a way. And I remember being annoyed that for me anyway, the sober companion left him there. Like, you would think the sober companion would have known that he was at risk, but...
well, I guess you believe them when they tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah, how can you not? That would not be a good place to be in.
Wow.
Yeah, things happen.
Yes, they do. Never a dull moment.
Right, that happened. Yeah. I think, actually, even after all these years I've been doing this, every show I still learn something new. Every time.
Oh, it's never the same day twice.
Nope, thank God.
That's what keeps it interesting.
Yeah, it definitely does. And yeah, and you just get better and better, hopefully, at your job. Unless you're like me and you can't remember anything, but that's a lot of situations. That's why you have young people around you.
To remind you.
Yeah.
Here's what happened yesterday, and here's what you said.
Right. This is what we're doing. Oh, good plan. Good plan.
You've been listening to The Other 50%. I'm Julie Harris Walker. I want to thank Ginny Nugent for sharing all of her stories. And special thanks to Jonathan Lucas for editing, Jay Rowe, Danny Rosner, and Allison McQuaid for the music. Please find us on iTunes and subscribe and leave a review, and on our website, theother50%.com, all spelled out, for added features and bios of our guests. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
You'll have to edit out the full beginning.
That's fun.